Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
Welcome to CAD-117 Intermediate AutoCAD and our Zoom meeting for this week. Tell us about this announcement, Al.
We're scheduling the midterms. Ew, dirty word, I know. What can you say? We're coming up on the starting the week of 10/26/2020. We're giving you a whole week to do it. We have two tests you might call it, or reviews, and one's a question and answer, and one's a regular drawing one.
Right.
So the drawing one. Go ahead.
We typically take the questions from the end of the chapters, and then we incorporate a hands-on drawing.
And in the test, the multiple question test, you can use the books, the computer, your notes, open mind, open computer, that's down. Okay.
And we do have a new element to it that we'll have to add into it, that we have to have these virtually proctored. And so we'll be using this little button here called Honor Lock. And it costs $11 for Honor Lock, but you get unlimited testing out of it. And it's really the way that our bosses want us to run the classes now, because we don't get everybody into the meetings and then we don't know who they are. And so what the Honor Lock system does is when you start the test, they ask you to show an identification. So you have to have your wallet and then, go into your wallet and get your driver's license or your student ID. And then after that, you'll go in and pan around the room. So when you do take the test, you might not want the kids in the room. You might want to pick a time when everybody is in bed or something like that, because we'll leave them active for a while. But that's the new thing. Right, Al?
Yep.
So that's coming up in 2 weeks. Next week we'll review, and we're going to cover up to module 7, I believe. I'll have to check what, I think 8 is section views. There might be some in there on that as well. We'll see where that kind of winds up. But as we look at where we are, we're on task. We're doing well. We've got the class. I'm going to have to pause this video really quick. So if we look at our outline of topics, we're in October and we're working on isometric drawings. We kind of dialed this back a little bit due to the pandemic and the way that we're developing the courses, so that it's very much by the book, and we can then make sure that everybody has the resources necessary to get everything done. So this is an isometric drawing exercise. And isometric drawing is still out there. You may come across some of these drawings. I think as we work with it, you'll find that it works great with the pencil. It works okay with the computer. But once you start to learn the 3D model, those are the things most of the students will gravitate towards. But with that said, we are covering it by the book, and so we're following that. And so if we look at the objectives, we're going to look at the term isometric drawings. We're going to correctly draw using ellipses, fillets, rounds, and isometric settings. We'll make up these different planes, or we'll do these. It's basically a construction technique. And then if we look at PowerPoint, again, those are our objectives. And essentially we're working with these, they're pictorials. And so as you look at how you create these isometric drawings, this was the course that I used to teach up at Northern Illinois University when I was a graduate student. We were just putting in the CAD department back in the late 80s. And so to draw something like this in CAD would require an isometric grid and snap. And so if I just had a new drawing, let's just go grab a title block. Remember, the title blocks are located in contents. And then if we go to all title blocks, and then we can get DWG or DWT. Remember, the mech drawings are decimal, and the arc drawings are in architectural units like feet and inches. So these drawings are more mechanical in nature, so we'll download those. Download that title block. And then we'll open that. Remember that paper space is just an environment to display your model space drawings. And so if we go to model space, and then we wanted to go and set this up, what we would do would be to go to our menu, show the menu bar, and go to Tools, Drafting Settings, and we would set up our drafting settings, which would enable a grid and a snap for isometric. And so that's this button right here, ISO Snap. And with isometric snap on, it basically is just a big piece of graph paper. And so we'll enable this at a 1/2 inch unit. And then if we look at the exercise from the book, for example, a cube with an isometric ellipse, it's an interesting construction technique because your eye is fooled. You look at this and you're like, oh, it's a hole, and it's really an ellipse. And so as we go through and we look at that drawing with the isometric, I can toggle the plane. And the best thing to do is to use ortho. And then if I go and enable a line, Control E, I like to start off on the top plane and come over here and draw a construction. Control E or F5. For some reason, I haven't figured out how to use my laptop control buttons in AutoCAD. And then a lot of times what the author does is I like to pull some of the videos from the workbook because we can see different construction techniques. And so what she does is she copies rather than go through and redraw those lines, and it is much faster. And then when we go through and we create these other lines, it starts to look like a three-dimensional object. But as we look at it, it only works in the top view. If I were to change to an isometric or a perspective, it becomes distorted. So it's a two-dimensional drawing technique that we're following. And as we work with this technique, we toggle these isoplanes with Control E. And so if I toggle the isoplane with Control E and then I put in a construction line, like that, and when ortho's on, it doesn't want to be real friendly. And then I go to create an axis endpoint ellipse. One of the options within that is ISO circle. And so I can say ISO circle, and I can then create that ISO circle, and we'll just say 6. And then if I try to put that ISO circle on any other plane other than this back plane, it will not look right. And so if I did that again, where I say axis endpoint ISO circle, and I try to put it here, it's in the wrong perspective. So you have to go and hit Control E or F5 and then do the construction again. And it's a lot of construction lines as you start to work with isometric drawing. And so I used to really enjoy doing the isometric work, but from a standpoint of being able to get things in a hurry, you will find that three-dimensional modeling is faster. And so if I say, okay, I want this here, here we go, and then 6. And then again, take out my construction lines. Control E toggles my isoplane, and then I can put a construction line to find the center. Axis ellipse, ISO circle, I'm gonna grab the midpoint, 6. And then since you cannot shade, so for example, if I said conceptual, nothing, because it's a wireframe and it is hollow, it is flat actually. So a lot of the construction techniques will have you delete or put these on layers that aren't seen. And so it's a perspective technique that goes back a long way. And they use these techniques where they'll create these bounding boxes and then build the object within that object. And so when we look at these exercises, they're really very well explained in the main splash page. So if we come back here to the main splash page and go to our area here, what we were looking at was these drawings right here, and then they have these videos, and they're actually kind of neat, Al, because they actually play right here in, I'm not sure how we did it, but.
The project shown in this video can be found in the textbook Technical Drawing 101 with AutoCAD, available from SDC Publications.
And these guys are from Texas, in case you didn't pick up on their accent. And I think it's a school in Austin. And so we'll go through and do it by the book. And essentially, we go through and lay out the instructions to create this part right here. And so we'll go through and create this T connector. And then we'll also do another project, which is this tool holder. For the T connector, you'll need to download the title block, Lab 7A from the book. And for the block holder, tool block, you'll need to download this title block. So if we download that and open it, you'll have the title block to draw the T connector, and you'll have to set that up. We're going to just go right by the book with this. I do like isometric drawing, but once we start to compare it to 3D modeling, I think that's where I excel much better with it. And then if we come back here with the instructions from the secondary part, we'll use that bounding box method. And since there already is a video, I didn't recut the videos. I did these over the weekend, and they work just fine. They've got a viewport, and basically it's just displayed within that viewport. So with that, that's the assignments for Module 7. We will complete Module 7, and then if we look at our assignments list, we've got the midterm hands-on drawing, and that will be scheduled for the week of the 26th.
Halloween weekend, Halloween week.
Right. It will be a proctored exam, and there's two parts to it. One part will be questions from the end of the chapters, and the other part will be a hands-on drawing. I wouldn't be nervous about it. I think everybody's doing a great job. The biggest thing is we have to proctor them, and so if you've got kids running around the house and stuff like that, the proctor might say, hey, you can't do that or whatever. So we'll have it on from midnight until 11:30 p.m., I think, or as long as we can have it on. And do your best. If we have to give a makeup test or something like that, we will. Anything else that we want to cover, Al?
No, that's about it. I mean, later on, we're going to show you how to use press pull and extrude to do the same way.
Yeah, we can definitely model these, but I think we're on the point where we want to just cover everything in the chapters at this point, just because of the way the pandemic is affecting the classes. So we have to kind of dial it back a little bit, so that if a student has difficulty, they might say, you know, I read that chapter 7 and it wasn't what they covered. So we're covering it by the book.
Right. So later on, maybe, 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the way, if we can squeeze it in, we will show you the other methods of doing it.
Definitely. And we can always, we always encourage people going above and beyond. Okay, so that's it. Look forward to seeing you online. Next week, we'll put together a short review on the chapters covered, and that will take care of our meeting for today.